All right, home skillets. Let's talk about release. All right, release is another fun one, and not quite as fun as attack. Attack is something that's a game changer with this whole thing of compression, but release can be very interesting if you know what you're up to. So, we've got that same stupid drum loop you've already heard probably 50 times by now. And let's see what compression I've got right now. All right, that's a pretty cool sound. The release is currently set the fastest it possibly can be, and it's 10 milliseconds. Now, what is this business of release? Well, we talked about it in the last video on attack, that we had a threshold that went across here, and that can determine whether we just want to knock that little bitty peaker, come down here and crush all of it. And then we have the attack that says, well, how long do we wait before we go kapow? Do we give this guy a freebie for just a second, or do we just go ahead and just zero tolerance? Well, as soon as this waveform goes below the threshold, we now have to decide when do we want to let go. And we have the option of hanging on longer. And I'm imagining like one of them dogs, like one of those security kind of dogs, like one of the Dobermans or German Shepherds or something, where they just clamp down and they just don't ever let go. And that's kind of what's going on here. You try to shake it. And so let's take a listen, and so my bull crap makes a little bit of sense to you. Here's what we got now. All right, now listen to how the sustain is affected. I'm going to crank it way up. Now again, I want to back to 10 milliseconds. And now up to 200. What we've done is, right about in here, we cross some threshold. Actually, it's probably lower, but whatever. We crossed the threshold somewhere, and we're attacking fairly early at 10 milliseconds, and it's just going to emphasize a little bit of that attack. So we're going to say, let's just pretend it kicks in right here. Okay, so we leave that guy there for the attack, and we start clamping. And then there's a point, maybe let's just guess here, where we're under the threshold. We're good. We're safe. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to keep on compressing. Well, this damn stubborn knob called release says, you know what, I'm going to hang on a little bit longer just to be safe. And so what it's actually doing is this stuff here, which is our room sound, our reverb, maybe continuous cymbal type stuff that never really stops ringing. It's all in there. We're going to go ahead and crush that. So let's look, or at least keep on compressing it, even though we've already technically been under the threshold. So for a while, let's see here. Let's just first off, let's have a release of all the way down at 10 milliseconds, as fast as it can be. Let's take a look at this thing. Okay, so again, you watch the attack at 10 milliseconds. We're a little guy through. We're going to kick this in, and then we're going to let go pretty early, actually. Or yell it. Okay, there you go. Okay. Now, let's see what happens. Let's see if this illustrates my point. I may have to compress a little harder because of the nature of the graphics here. Let's go up to 200 milliseconds and process that. Okay, and maybe, I don't know, it's a little smaller. Let's nuke us harder. It's very important that you see how this thing operates here. Okay, that's a little bit overkill there, but you can kind of hear what's going on. Right now the release is at 455 milliseconds, which is almost half a second. So for every hit, it's going to just clamp on for a long time. And that's actually so long that the next transient from the kick or snare will be kind of, screwing up in there. So again, that's all part of the fun. We're just nuking this stuff. But let's look and see what that looks like. Well, again, we're having a little bit of trouble visually seeing this, but you can definitely hear it. There's a certain amount of trash. If we get down too low, where if we and then that stuff flies up because the compressor lets it go too quick, and sometimes that trashy stuff's really useful. I've done that with just believe it or not, throwing a mic on the floor, like a SM57. Just throw it under the drum or somewhere. Of course, they'll step on it, assholes. But just nuking that and getting as much trash as you can be very useful track. Just to blend in real nice with drums and stuff. And there are many other cases too where this hyper fast release is useful, but it cleans up. It gets a little bit prettier, a little bit more natural, and less distorted if we crank this release up. So keep that in mind and play with it. Again, set your thresholds real aggressive. Just nuke the stupid thing and really play around. Play around with the attack and the release, kind of independently of each other. And you'll get some really awesome results, and you'll figure out that the release is a very important concept to master in your recordings. All right, thanks, guys.